So Victor, thank you so much for participating in our Setsi YouTube channel that we have phenomenal leaders like yourself that are, pushing the needle and really trying to make change in your community. We thank you so much for all that you do on behalf of Setsi. Again, thank you.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
All right. As always, we begin by acknowledging the original stewards of the various lands that we are on. We also acknowledge our ancestors. We acknowledge all those who toiled without compassion or compensation. We acknowledge all the elders and community stalwarts whose shoulders we stand on as we build, share, learn together for our collective liberation and sovereignty. So if you can please do us the honors by introducing yourself to our listeners and viewers and tell us about your remarkable work.
Hi, my name is Víctor Vorski. I'm based in Portugal right now. I've lived in many other places. In Canada, I was from 86 till 96 and then in the early noughties. So I'm also Canadian. Tell you about my work. I think the interesting thing is around events. What's most pressing now is this event, which we're calling Gathering of Tribes, going to rebrand it as The Gathering because the tribes thing didn't work as a branding idea. But it was an attempt to invite people and acknowledge that there is so many different new ways of organizing which are growing in the world now. There is communities, but there is all kinds of interest groups. Every online podcast has a group of people around it who follow it and who are its kind of tribe. So I was trying to play with this idea and invite us all to rethink of where our belonging is. Where is our community of support? Where is the community that we are investing our energy to support and build? So that's the tribes part of the Gathering of Tribes. But the big idea is to bring people together across different change maker movements. Because certainly, I don't think anybody has all of the answers, but it's starting to feel like we're living in times where maybe most of the answers are already out there. And what we need to do is put them together into what I like to think of as this new mosaic. And for that, deep work is important, but there's been so much deep work done in human rights, in the environment, in technology, and in so many different fields. There's been decades of deep systems change work done, but now we need to tie all of this together and bring it into building a new society. So the environmental people must talk to the women rights people, must talk to the technology people, must talk to the spiritual development, right? It's all linked. Right? We cannot solve, we're getting to the point where the hard problems are not individual, down individual silos. They are at the interconnection. How does the economy connect with the environment, connect with the population, connect with human rights, right? Deep work is important, but we need more of this work of interconnecting the different systems change movements. So the way we propose to do that, the event that we're organizing it, there's a few things which are different from a normal conference or summit that you might be used to. First of all, we meet in nature because coming together in nature has a different sense, right? There's lots of scientific research which you can go and say, we're more relaxed, we're more creative actually, and all of this, but also as a space, it's just natural. It's easy to go for a walk, have a conversation. It's a different kind of space. And certainly if we believe that one of the key challenges of our times is rebuilding a healthy relationship with our planet, with nature, of the biosphere, then doing this in a conference room in the middle of a big city seems kind of paradoxical. It's nice. It's better, I think, doing it sitting under a tree. So we meet in nature. It's a fully co-created conference. So if you've heard of an unconference format or something like this, we invite amazing people, but then they propose what activities that they want to do. really with the gathering, we're asking the question, given the reality of our times, the zeitgeist of the times that we live in, which is, for example, remote work, right? Remote work has changed fundamentally how we collaborate, right? We have this luxury of here we are far away at a distance and we're having a conversation. Clearly, it's good for some things, but clearly in person is much better for other things. Right. So I think it's important, and time in person in terms of cost of money, of time, of carbon impact, whatever other ways, it's quite precious because it's expensive. We need to use that time really, really effectively. So for example, talks, I think YouTube is for talks. You know, I spend a lot of hours every week. Why would I travel halfway across the city or across the world to sit somewhere? I mean, okay, if it's my guru, I want to see their keynote, you know, but in general, the value of being together in person is not sitting silently in a big room, you know, unless you're having a meditation session, in which case, great. But the value is in the connection and interaction, right? So how do we design events which maximize the value of the time together? And I think this means really focusing on the interactive stuff, using talks, having events before to start pre-building the connection, using technology. Something that I'm really excited about is we're developing an app for encouraging people to make meaningful connections. And I really think there is a huge room to build technology which enhances in-person experience. We've been used to technology, you know, being an addictive thing that sucks us away and all of this, but I don't believe that's a fault of technology. I believe it just shows how powerfully technology can be used to modify behavior. And yes, you know, the apps suck us in and take our time away, but at the same time, there's meditation apps which help us be our better selves. There's exercise apps, which with our consent try to modify our behavior in a direction that we choose. So it's clearly possible for technology to be positive. So how can we design it so to be positive in building connection and collaboration? I really think that my background is in technology. I spent many years writing software and then managing software. So that's always been part of my life. And at the same time, despite all of the change, things change very slowly. Social networks haven't really changed in 25 years in terms of like, there's a person, you follow them, and, you know, I think the next stage will be an emergence of collaboration networks. So software that's built to support us in creating collaboration and creating collaboration in ecosystems. Because if you look at the software that's out there now, it's designed for within a company, within a corporation, or between that, like you send emails, right? It's not designed very well to support the way your organization teammate who had like this map of all of these organizations on his board, right? This is how we work together. We create these coalitions, but the systems that we have are not set up to support that. As well, that's also our vision for the gathering is to catalyze the emergence of a regenerative ecosystem of collaboration. I'm really excited about this idea of building. I think we've got enough networks. All of us have enough connections. What we need now is ecosystems of collaboration where we're really working together, where we're supporting each other. So this is also our inquiry with the gathering. How do we create an event which really has the most biggest possible impact on building more collaboration in the ecosystem? Of course, sensing collective intelligence, emerging of alignment and share ideas, but really, how do we create an event which helps us move to action? So my dream is that after the gathering, everybody comes out with 1, 2, 3, 5 concrete commitments for something they're going to do. It might be having an interview like now. It might be writing a blog together or starting a project or joining a community. But there is a lot of power and energy when in person to build excitement for doing something together. But if we just build excitement and don't get a commitment, then that leaves it for later, and it's easy for that energy to dissipate. So this is an inquiry. How do we build an event which helps us move that energy into action and then create some kind of commitment, a plan, and then can continue working remotely or however we are. But this is the idea. I've been working remotely 20 years myself, and paradoxically enough, that's led me to create an in-person event, because I really don't think that remote work means that we don't meet in person.
Right.
It means that we meet in person with intention when it's important and valuable for the project.
Yes, it's almost like you have to have this accountability structure along with it, because you can fall into the trap of being like working from home and not going. Especially when you're dealing with people's natures. Like, I'm an introvert, so I love it. If I can stay in my little, my little square here all day, I'm great. But if there's an accountability of really reaching out, because I know me as a person, I have a lot to offer on the outside. It is beneficial for me as well as others for us to collaborate personally together. So there almost has to be like an accountability piece, because you can get stuck in your own self. Like, sometimes we get in our own way by means of habits. So I see exactly what you're talking about. That's very, very important to balance the two, you know? Um, and yeah, like you said, there's nothing new, really there's nothing new under the sun. So it's really just about how do we take the information that's already in the ethers and bring it into a physical reality, So very, very good. So what inspires you? What inspires you about your work?
Well, I mean, it's having amazing conversations with people like you, right? I think a key thing, I don't know how you feel in your work, but for me, I've inviting people to the gathering over the past 8 months. I've reached out to over 2,000 people on LinkedIn. I've had a couple hundred conversations. And what's amazing is the sense of hope that so many people are doing amazing work. And I've talked to very different people, from young people in university trying to figure it out to full-on white hair elder, been doing this stuff for 30, 40 years, kind of personalities, but somehow underneath all of those personalities, I felt a unifying energy, a unifying feeling of, I know we need to do better. I believe we can do better as a species, as humanity, and I'm going to find my way of contributing. And I think, yeah, if you read the news, it's very hard to have a sense of hope. So actually, I think having a sense of hope and positivity is starting to become a big luxury in the world today.
I'm telling you, it really is. It really is. But some people say hope is all we have. So we have to hang on to that and do, but it's like there's always that open door of action. I think a lot of people, again, we get into our mind too much and think that, oh, well, I'll just pray about it, or I'll just hope for the best. But if you actually start putting one foot in front of the other, it's little by little, no pressure, little by little, the change will come with action. You know what I mean? So you need both. You need hope and action.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And this is what I mean. It's the people I've been talking to is, I get a sense of hope by by hearing about the actions they are doing.
Yes.
Sometimes it takes more than half hour to even just listen to the list of people's projects that one person is doing. So often people are working on many things. Yeah, it's on the one hand, again, the world is in challenging times. And if you look at the mainstream and the thing, it's easy to become despondent. But then when instead you talk to the people who are doing the change, you're like, wow, this is happening everywhere, all ages, all parts of the world. Pick any business or industry, and there is somebody there thinking of how could we do this better? How could we do it with more positive impact on the planet, on the people, on the community? So this is something, yeah, that I'm very interested in, that I think we need to learn, figure out how to tell better the big picture story.
Right. That's right. And then you touched on challenges. So what challenges and barriers have you faced in your work, and how were you able to overcome them?
So in our work, the event that we're doing, because it's a new kind of event, right? It's a conference, but not only a conference. It's a festival, but not only a festival. It's celebration, but it's also doing work, right? Trying to bringing together holistically this being and doing together, right? Because we need both. In practice, everybody knows that business and work is built on relationships. But when we come to design events, it's all about the talks or the seminars. And then the human being together is, oh yeah, we get drunk in the bar in the evening, which is great. But if that's your only way that you're able to have a being space together with other humans, it's limiting. And it's actually quite impoverished. So we have this holistic part, because I believe, you can build a great relationship doing yoga or whatever, probably even better than getting drunk together. So, and then that gives the basis. So this has been my challenge, is to explain to people that there is a new format and it's worthwhile, and let's experiment with how we gather, because it's actually quite important. And then there is just connecting across silos, where we talk about regeneration, which is a new movement, but for me, it includes circular economy and human rights, and trying to bring all of those movements together. And I think this hasn't been done so well or so much until now, right? You say you work in the I'm curious, actually, in your work, how much do you see the coming together of people from, let's say, inner development, from the ecosystem development with the community development? Do you see that happening?
Yeah, so again, we had to put action into that. So SETSI put together the Solidarity Working Group. So as Victor was explaining to you before, and how we all collaborate, and we have different positions that people are responsible for, so we can come in and discuss about things that the government has promised, and making sure that they keep the promise, especially when it comes to an endowment fund and those things like that, to help their social economy, to have an impact in community. So again, that kind of ties in, like I said, with that action point, that it came from here into a physical reality. Let's all collaborate. We have over, I think, 300 members so far, that every 3 months or so we meet. So, it's the engaging of the mind to come together and see how we can collaborate with all the knowledge and wealth that we have, and all the capacity to reach out in the governmental sector, to the environmental sector, to the housing sector. I mean, you name it. We all have to come together and do our part, or else it's just not going to work, So it's like, build it and they will come. Yeah, that's what SETSI did. We built it and they came. Yeah.
Beautiful. Yeah, I'm sure it was because you had a great sense of timing and a very fertile environment.
Yes. I mean, Victor is just, I can't even put him into words, how determined and loyal he is to his people, to his community, wanting to do better, wanting to see the next generation. I mean, he's a father of four, so he has to look at his generation every day and be like, what legacy am I leaving? What am I leaving for the next generation as far as the environment, you know, as far as, you know, equality, as far as, you know, there's so much that we as the older, I guess what we're Generation X, I guess I think we're running out of alphabets now because we're at Gen Z right now. So I don't know what generation is coming after that one, but
They came up with something after that.
yes, yes, yes. So, you know, so that's really what Setsi represents. Victor is doing a phenomenal job, and you know, we're all behind him, and people like you, we want to also, you know, spread our wings and be like, let's fight the good fight, because no matter where you are, it needs to be done, because this is a global problem. It's not a local problem at all, you know? So the next question I have for you, um, from your time in Canada, how do you feel about the future of social impact in Canada? And if you want to go abroad too, that's fine.
Yeah, I mean, I've lived outside of Canada for a long time, so it's hard for me to speak about Canada. But I think the global trends, at least in the parts of the world which I know, which is Europe, English-speaking world, and so on and so forth. I mean, I think the fundamental change that needs to happen is that, how did you call it? The future of
Oh, sorry. Um, oh, the future of social impact.
yeah. So I think social impact needs to disappear.
Mm.
I mean, I think it should stop being a thing, right?
Hmm.
Just the
Hmm.
idea that we have business that's separate from doing good in the world, right? That we can have a separate conversation
Mm, 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 mm,
here,
mm.
right? I mean, we need to, in whatever venture that we do, we need to have always an accounting of the impact, of environmental impact, of social impact, and so on and so forth. So in that sense, I mean, I think it's happened in some other, it's an ongoing battle, as you said. But yeah, I mean, I think it needs to meld and become imbued in business as usual,
Yes,
right? And as long as whether it's environmental action or social action is a separate thing, it's going to be a struggle and it will always be limited. We need to change business as usual to take account of social impact, of environmental impact, and so on and so forth.
so
Uh,
true. So true. So true. So what's your ultimate goal? If you to summarize, what's your ultimate goal and what does success look like to you?
uh, to, on my deathbed, feel I lived a life well lived, that I
Mhm.
did everything that I could. Yeah, I mean, I want to, I would love to contribute to a rethinking of how we gather. I think in the Western secular world, we have lost a lot of the power of, well, so much, but festival also, because festival has become either entertainment, maybe commerce, maybe scientific learning, but it's actually a much more powerful. People like to talk about indigenous technologies. I do believe that gathering and tribal gatherings is one of the fundamental indigenous technologies. Uh, and there is a huge power in how we gather, which is not being used and not being tapped now, right? And when we gather, we need to not, as I imagine you must appreciate, the one of the key diseases of the European mindset is blah blah. We're always in our heads, and that's great, but that misses a key part of our connection, of our cognition. I'm my biggest hero influence, the thinker that I love the most is John Vervaeke. He's actually at the University of Toronto. I don't know, and he talks a lot about many things, but from him, I learned about the 5E cognition. So cognition is embedded and in the environment and so on and so forth. Simple example is walking. You don't think about walking. Your body knows how to walk. And there's so many other things like this in life. So just the blah, blah, just the talking misses a key part. And it certainly misses a huge part of how we bond as human beings. So I think we need to bring back the singing and the dancing together to just our regular life and meetings and heal this separation from work and play. So whatever
Exactly.
I can contribute to these ideas,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
world.
Yeah, I agree totally. I agree totally because, being in an environment where you can, like you said, we're always in our head, always, we miss out. We miss out on, smelling the roses, smelling the flowers in order to have that human interaction, that human connection, and know that we are still human. Sometimes more you still got to pinch yourself throughout the day. Like you're so engulfed in AI and technology and this and that, Yeah, I'm still, I'm not a robot, So yeah, I
And
totally
all
agree.
it the important part is that a big part of our intelligence is there.
Mm-hmm. Oh yes.
Right? So it's not just, yes, it's great to be human, but also we're not using our full ability, our full cognition, and our full ability to come together as communities, as organizations, as groups, if we're just
Mm-hmm.
doing everything through the blah blah in the words.
So true. Absolutely. Wow, Vic, this has been very, very powerful. I know it will help a lot of people when they watch this, and you know, we we're the puzzle pieces. We're trying to really put it all together in order to make an impact for the next generation because it's really about them at this point. We're trying to do the best that we can, and like you said, on your deathbed, you know that you've done all that you can, and you pass the baton on, and that's what it's about. Not hoarding information, not just everything is in your head and not relaying it out to community, relaying it out to families, relaying it out to children so that they can now pass on the knowledge. So this
Yeah.
has been really impactful. So my last question is, do you have any closing thoughts or calls to action at this time?
So actually, I wanted to connect with what you said about this thinking about the future generation. I think that's very important, and also looking at the bigger and deeper time and understanding that whatever's happening will take decades, it'll take hundreds of years, and all we can do is what we can do. I think there's also a certain relief, right? If you shift from I have to save the world now to I need to contribute the best way that I can, it makes for a much more manageable life. Last message is, yeah, gatherings are really powerful. In-person time is really powerful. And it's time to be creative and rethink how we put more intentionality. This is, put more intentionality in the time that we spend together because it's very precious. And the call to action is, the gathering is a few weeks from now, so it's probably too late for people to Canada from Canada to come. But I would love if you could share my link, and I'm happy. Anybody who's designing events or thinking about events, and also thinking how to use technology in real life events, always happy to have a conversation.
Amazing. Will you be live streaming the event so people can watch it on YouTube or
Yeah, it's an event designed for in-person connection. How do you
yeah.
500 conversations happening at the same time? So
Mm-hmm.
instead, we are having the app for making connections. So we'll be
Mm-hmm.
publishing that. There will be a photographer. I'm also will be encouraging people to actually use AI to transcribe things,
Yeah.
record and transcribe. But we will see. We're experimenting with it, but it's a event that's really designed to enhance in-person deep connection.
Mm-hmm.
How do you live stream that?
Right. That's so true. That's so true. It just teases people like, oh, I'm going next year, I'm coming, I'm coming. Oh wow. So Victor, thank you once again. We appreciate your remarkable leadership. We wish you much success on your event. It is very important, very impactful, and we wish much success to you in your future endeavors as well. And I'm sure we will collaborate again sometime in the near future. So on behalf of SETSI, we thank you for your participation today.
Yes, and thank you for everything that you do.
Oh, thank you. So we will close the way that we began by acknowledging the original stewards of the various lands that we are on. We also acknowledge our ancestors. We acknowledge all those who toiled without compassion or compensation. We acknowledge all the elders and community stalwarts whose shoulders we stand on as we build, share, learn together for our collective liberation and sovereignty. So thank you once again, and we'll be in touch.
Thank you.
All right, have a good one.